Today we have a very special Connect Talks with Chef Joseph Lidgerwood, the owner of Michelin-starred restaurant EVETT. Today, Chef Joseph will take us on a culinary journey, sharing his experiences and insights into the unique world of Korean gastronomy. So, without further ado, please welcome Chef Joseph.
Okay. Hello, guys. 안녕하세요. Lovely introduction. Thank you very much. My name is Joseph. I am restaurant owner of EVETT in Seoul, and as you can probably tell, I am not from Korea. I always like to start with that one, just to kind of ease in. Today's talk, very honored to be here, speaking to such kind of amazing people that bring tourism and hospitality into Korea. I think it's such a vital part, and I think myself being in hospitality and my wife being in theatre, we definitely appreciate the people that connect the dots from the guest experience to the supplier. So let's get into today, if my little slide is working. Nope. We don't need it anyway. So I'll give you a bit of an overview first about what I'm going to cover today and why it's kind of important and what I think it can add value to today. So first of all, I'm just going to dive into a little bit about myself, what got me started, and how I ended up in Korea. I want to talk a bit about the food of Korea, the culture and the people that make this country so special. And then I'm going to finish off with the philosophy of the restaurant, how I've, as a non-Korean, have been able to blend aspects of Korea into our restaurant. So let me dive in. So quick little flex there of my CV. So this is some of the restaurants that I was able to work at during my time. So I am an Australian from Tasmania. If you guys probably all in the travel, so you know where Tasmania is. Yes, right there. And growing up in a small town in Tasmania led me to travel the world and to seek new adventures and to build my career. There's two kind of chefs in the world. There's kind of chefs who love to cook, kind of like my mum. I would say she's a better representation of people who like to cook, who enjoy plating food, who enjoy the full dish. And then there's kind of me as a young chef who was more about the rush. I definitely, as a young chef, wanted to push myself to experience that. I felt that as a chef, the best kitchens I could work in were the hardest. And that's kind of where my career has led. And it kind of feels like I was talking to another chef recently, and it feels like a high athlete sport when you're in these restaurants. They have these kind of very pressured situations. You're racing against the clock. You're working from 6 a.m. till midnight every day. And for some of us like myself, it's all we dream of. So for around 10 years, I would just push myself to the absolute limit. Starting off in Tasmania, but then moving to the UK, working at some amazing restaurants there, and then trying to seek new adventures. So one of the biggest adventures that I wanted to talk about today is why I came to Korea. It's a question that I get asked every single day. I've tried to condense it down, but it's quite a long story, so I'll dive into it. So I was working at a restaurant in the UK, which we were just discussing previously, and it was 7 or 8 years into my career of waking up at 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m., waiting outside a restaurant, feeling that dread as you're going into the kitchen, hoping that you're going to make it through that service. And I just thought that there's got to be a bit more to life than this. Especially, there's a couple people here I know as chefs, but it can be really super demanding. So my friend who was working at another prominent restaurant called Noma, we started a restaurant group that would travel around the world. And for 2 years, we built pop-up restaurants that would focus on the guest experience and not the food. Pop-ups are quite popular now, but the ones that we try to do are something that's just completely, just really pushes the boundaries. So some of the highlights was we took a barge in South Africa and did one on the river there. We took 10 guests up to Base Camp Everest, foraged all the ingredients along the way and cooked did the highest base camp restaurant, 2016. And the challenges behind that were insane. But from these experiences, so every month was a different country. So it'd be Oman, there'd be San Francisco, there'd be Hong Kong. And from that I met people, I met the culture. And what I really took away from it is that the food doesn't really matter. When I was cooking in San Francisco on a 4-burner in a warehouse, and I had the guests cycling from the elevator to the small space because it was so large, and then cooking what I would say is pretty average food, but seeing the guests' emotions at the end made me really think that what we do within food is not the food itself, but the memory. So through all those experiences, one of the places along the way was Korea. So I came to Korea, and it might sound a little bit ignorant, but before I came to Korea, I didn't even know where it was on the map. We were traveling everywhere. We would pick the countries by random. We would have the 1 week before we flew out of the last country, we would all have a beer, put names in a hat, and pick one out, and that was the country we went to. That was the real planning process behind this. And one of it was Korea, and then we thought, cool, we're going to do kimchi and barbecue and BTS, and that was it. And when I came here, traveling, we spent a month traveling, going to Jeju, diving with the Haenyos, going to Andong, learning about soju, going to all these regions, and it really changed my perspective. So when I left, I went to work at the whole restaurant group fell apart, as you do when you start a company with your best friend, and travel on the road for 2 years. And as I was working in another fine dining restaurant serving caviar and truffles and foie gras, which are all super delicious, I realized that I wanted to do something different with my culinary journey. So this is a couple little slides here. So that's the base camp, Everest. This one's actually in Myanmar. So we did one on Inle Lake, if you guys have ever been there. That was very cool. And from that, I wanted to come to Korea and challenge myself, not just to open tins of caviar and truffles, which is super delicious, but derive flavors from seaweed, from mixing fermentation, which Korea is so famous for. It's getting more popularity now, but I think especially 2016, 17, it wasn't so. So that's kind of my culinary journey that's led me here. I've opened the restaurant now for 5 years. We've had some amazing success, mostly due to the team that we have, and I think the philosophy of bringing Korea and showing it in a different way. Some of the ingredients I would like to talk about today is the seafood. For anyone joining us internationally, Korea eats the most seafood out of any country in the world, consumption-wise. So and when you go to these places, or you go to the market, or you go anywhere, it's like everything. You don't realize what's edible until you realize it's all edible. Some of my favorite ones here, we have sea pineapple in English, a large mollusk called kijoge, and then the seaweeds. The seaweeds, I still, like even this week I was foraging for seaweeds off the coast of Shinan, and the amount of seaweeds that are in Korea that when I grew up in Australia, seaweed was just one type. Now, here in Korea, there's 40, 50, 60 different types of seaweed, and it's all used for different things. Some smell like truffles, some have these very savory, some are just not delicious at all. But they're all eaten here, and I think it's the seafood element. We are on a peninsula. The seafood here is just, the range is just impeccable. Korea has an amazing, not a little history lesson, but just kind of Korea has this amazing diverse climate. So in the winter, it's -20. Your lips are cracking. It's so dry. In the summer, we're here now. The love bugs are everywhere. It's just this wild wind of climates, which can seem pretty unappealing to most people, but as a chef, it is one of the best things you can have, because you have these kind of hard winters, which any country that has a hard winter, I find, is the fermentation and the preservation behind that is so much better. If you have to preserve stuff to get through the winter, or you don't survive, you find that those cultures just have these kind of rich kind of fermentation history. This is a picture here of Inje, which is famous for the drying of pollock and dried fish. Last kind of one I like to talk about is chang, or bean paste. It is, they say in Korea, they say it's the heart of Korean food. And it's so easy to get it mixed up with stuff like miso and everything else. I wanted to spend a little bit of time because most of the food that you have while you're in Korea will have some element of jang in it. So when I talk about jang, you're talking about doenjang, but you might know gochujang. That last bit is jang, or kanjang soy sauce, or jeonggukjang, which is my favorite. Yeah, very strong, right? And it is the reason I love it so much. It has this terroir about it, like. Compared to other countries, if you make miso, for example, you are using one bacteria, you're using Aspergillus oryzae, and white miso tastes like white miso, brown miso tastes like brown miso. In Korea, every single region is different, the way that they make the jang, the way that they make the meiju blocks, and the fermentation, because it's all wild yeast ferment. It's from that area. So here, this is, you might know her from Netflix, that's Jongkwon Sinim, who's doing a temple jang there, but it is honestly one of the best flavors that I have encountered as a chef. There's me smelling some nurik, and then a little bit about Korean alcohol. I recommend that you guys try some here. It is really exceptional. Same again, wild fermentation really drives Korean food. My kind of last point of my talk here is kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I think Korean food is important kind of worldwide as well. I think right now Korea kind of has the microphone in its hand in regards to countries. I think that there's not a lot of countries that are trending like Korea is at the moment in regards to food, culture, fashion, music. It is definitely on the up. And I was at a talk last year with some people who are better speaking than me, and they were talking about what we should do in Korea with this kind of highlighted spotlight that we have at the moment. And I think one of the things that we're trying to do in Korea is keep the tradition. I think that Korea, even over the last couple of years, you see some of the traditions dying away. Like last year, they changed the rules on Korean age. We lost that kind of really cool quirk about Korea. And even now, all the rice that you eat in Korea is not Korean, it's Japanese, and because it changed. And what we try to do at the restaurant is showcase Korean stuff that can push forward into the future. It doesn't have to be tradition, it doesn't have to be that, it's just delicious ingredients, and we can showcase that forward. So this is us at a monegi, or a classic rice planting farm in Korea, planting Korean rice, and meeting all the masters. So in Korea, they have these masters, they're called myeongins. They're kind of selected by the government to keep the tradition of Korea. And it's a really cool thing because these things, without these people upholding the tradition, they're going to kind of fade away. So we have a lady here making fried seaweed and the jang. And then a little bit about the philosophy of restaurant EVETT. As always, I always like to, you guys need to kind of see it to believe it, or see what we are doing. But here at Restaurant EVETT, we focus only on the Korean ingredients. I kind of hate the word fusion because for me, it's kind of just a mixture of two cultures. It's kind of like kimchi and spaghetti, or kind of doesn't really inspire me to get up in the morning. And so at the Restaurant EVETT, what we do in our philosophy is to meet the suppliers, meet the producers, learn about the food, the ingredients, why it's special to them, and then not go away and just like reconstruct it or do anything like that, but just take the stories, take the ingredients, and see what we can do from our side. So I'm not from Korea. I didn't grow up with kind of any of these traditions, but it's when I can hear the stories and I can see the impact of people, it really helps us drive the menu. So we do a course menu based on that and take everyone on a kind of sometimes it's a history journey, sometimes it's a culinary journey. We take everyone through that. And through that experience, I feel that people can get a real snapshot of Korea. And that is everything that I would like to talk about today. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joseph. That was really insightful. We do have some time for questions if anyone has any. I have one myself. What would you say is the most underrated Korean dish?
Underrated. I had some friends from Australia coming over last week, and I think the best dish that I always recommend is kanjang-gaejang.
Okay.
So you can't like legally you can't have it anywhere else because of the way that they do it. So it's soy crab, but they drown the crabs in soy sauce, and the crabs drink the soy, and then you get, especially not the yangnyeom, the actual kanjang kejang, you get this kind of creamy, like it's amazing, and like you have the shell of the crab, and you push your teeth on the shell, and you push out this oozing crab, and it's just exceptional. So in your time here, I know it sounds disgusting. I can see here that it's not. Honestly, I say it is impeccable. Try it.
Great, I'll have to try that. So Joseph will be joined. Oh, you've got a question?
Yes. Vegetarian food. So one of the ladies on there, Jongkan Sinim, does sachal umshik, so does temple food, all vegan, all vegetarian, and actually doesn't taste like. Sometimes I go to restaurants that do vegetarian. My friends are vegan, and it definitely feels put together. It doesn't feel that's what they do. So I recommend if you're in here for Korea for a bit of time, there's a couple temple restaurants, and they do vegan and vegetarian food super well, and it's not an afterthought. It's delicious.
Great, thank you. So Joseph will be joining us for lunch, so if anyone has any personal questions that you'd like to ask, then you can do then. So now we are going to break into a workshop session. I'm going to come to this table first, and the topic is education and cultural appreciation. Who is your nominated speaker? So...
AJ, time on the clock. We've got 1 minute.
So, okay. Yes, so our topic was actually education and cultural appreciations. And then as a buyer's perspective, how important is your clients to learn about the histories and cultural significance of the dishes they are experiencing? And all the buyer actually said that it's actually very significant and very important to actually understand the food and culture itself. And so that's the reason why they're always concentrating on how to deliver the coordinated programs to have experience with the dishes and also understanding about the culture itself. And the supplier side also, that's one of the most important essential parts that we try to include. And one of the experiences what we try to do is that like a temple stays, and we try to actually basically deep down into the culture itself, emerging in there, and then try to live and experience as how they've been kept the histories, just how long that was been, so that we can become a part of the actual culture itself and continuing the stories that we've been actually seeing and observing itself as the stories as a culture. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you very much. Sam?
Wow. Can my table be perfect timing like they were? Who is our speaker on this table? Who's our selected speaker to discuss? Wilson, I think you were doing lots of good discussions. Are you going to tell us what you were chatting about? So this one, we've got two guest experiences, guest experiences, this table and this table. So I'm interested to see how the difference with the discussions. But Wilson.
So hi. So we talk about what's the common culinary preference for the high-end traveler. So for first of all, that of course, like for the Michelin Guide star and the best 50 top the restaurant and the bar is one for the common for the restaurant and the bar. However, we also think about like the mother-made, handmade the food from the Korean experience, also quite important for the local experience. And we also, because from my personal experience for the Korean the food, first impression is from one of the TV series called how to say the Da Changjing. Julia Palace is a very famous TV series, like 15 years ago, and it's like it's a talk about the Korean food in their palace, and they have a culinary competition in this TV series. And I think for the DMC company can also did kind of experience for our traveler. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilson. Well done. So we're going to come to this table next, and the topic is innovation and trends. Who is the nominated speaker? For both, yeah. 60 seconds.
All right, so I mean, overall, I think what we're seeing at the moment, a lot of trends from a client that, there's a lot of Michelin stars around the world, and the clients are now kind of trying to step away from Michelin and actually try something else. So lately we've seen a lot of 50 best restaurants coming to the market. that the clients are interested in something maybe more simple, but culinarily a great experience where it's just delicious and fantastic, maybe more authentic, and depending on the country. That's as a global trend that we're seeing. Now, on the question of how do we adapt and innovate, the traditional Korean dishes to appeal to the global audience, we were discussing on the table different ideas, and I think people come to Korea, and what we discussed, there's a lot of also Italian, French restaurants, especially at the hotels. But I think not necessarily the people coming to Korea want to experience, maybe they will have a dinner, one or two at those restaurants, but overall they want to experience something super local, right? So how do you get it? So first is, we thought about, bringing the food market experience. So maybe doing in a luxury way, privatizing the food market and bringing clients there for those who are open to food markets and having that really authentic food. But for those who are not feeling comfortable with that, maybe taking those ingredients, the way of cooking, the concept of cooking, and bringing it to like the luxury environment of restaurants, and that way using all the local ingredients and the dishes, but an amazing presentation using the chef skills to actually be able to present to the clients. So that's as of two ideas we had in mind.
Almost 1 minute. Right. Collaboration and partnership table. Who is our chosen speaker?
So we were asked to discuss how we can get together as suppliers and partners and buyers, how we can get Korean food out into the world, how how our customers, our clients can experience Korea through food. And we as buyers, we want to find locally sourced food. We want to taste Korea properly. At some point also, we want a lot of variety, of course. Not just Korean barbecue every day, not just kimchi every day or sojun. So what can our local suppliers do to meet with that demand? And in a practical way, we found that, for example, customized menus in high-end restaurants could work very well. Doing cooking classes so that you really can find out what is happening with the food. Yeah, I get to continue, of course, as well. For those that are not so into hands-on cooking, we might do some kitchen tours, for example, which will be very interesting for guests to see. So that's it.
Lovely, thank you.
Almost in time.
So this table we have, the topic is sustainability and sourcing, and we actually have Chef Joseph on this table, so I'm very interested to see what you have to say. Who is the nominated speaker?
Well, I will take responsibility in not talking about what we discussed, because, list of ideas, whatever, about plastic, keeping the food and etc. But I would say the main responsibility in front of the planet Earth for all of us is first to talk about yourself. And the example we show to the kids, to the people around us, that would bring the sustainability and stability. That's it.
Thank you.
Short and to the point, I like it. Plenty of time and no buzzer. Okay, our final topic. Again, this is interesting because we had one topic table say the same. So guest expectations and experiences. Who is our speaker?
Thank you. Right. So from buyer's point of view, we feel that we make sure our clients are not of any allergic. We make sure that local experiences, cooking classes, authentic experiences that our clients should get when they are at the destination. If clients are coming from specific places, and we should make sure that they get their preference food like vegetarian, halal, or kosher meals. For families, kids for menus, which is very important, that kids also get to their own food. And the last one is very important when luxury high-end clients are traveling, to make sure they get some Michelin star experiences when they're traveling. From supplier's point of view, Suppliers, they feel that detailed and customized service is very important to each and every guest. Before arrival, sending emails to the clients to make sure they get their dietary requirements. And in hotels, dietary card to be filled. And yeah, and the breakfast at the breakfast buffet or in the restaurants in the hotels, checklist to fill out when the guests are there. That's it. Not much about us.
Thank you very much indeed. Alicia.
Thank you, everyone. So that's us done. Thank you all for sharing your really interesting insights. And thank you once again to Chef Joseph Lidgerwood for joining us today. It's been truly insightful.